I think the idea would be that Ismark gave you all directions to follow Barovia Road down south to his house on the furthest southern point of Barovia, the village. Um, but it's up to you all where you want to go as you leave Blood on the Vine.
I'm pretty sure we had decided we were going to go to the mansion and find out some more information and then rest also. Because I think we need. Did we get a rest? I can't remember.
You're not technically long rested, but you are technically leveled up to 3, so.
Yeah, I say we go to his place.
Agreed.
So you all can march down Barovia Road, passing by a few more homes, many of them still dark. Many buildings are barred up and closed off with wood nailed across their doorways, their windows, and anything that might be an entrance of any sort. As you all progress further and further south, you do pass by Bildras Mercantile. That would be noted with another sign with the name, as well as like a few supplies like on the sign, giving a clear idea that it's kind of like a general store. And we'll cross by the point of this home where you can clearly hear the wailing cries of someone within, and you can continue walking down south. Continue to pass by the rest of the homes until you eventually come to that most southern point where there's only the single building ahead of you, and you see this large structure, this home being mostly stone with some wood to it. It has a massive entryway ahead of you, and then to the east of you, you see a larger portion of the home that builds off of that area that seems to have the chimney and what would belie the main portion of the house.
This is the mansion you're describing, right?
Yep, all the way on the south side of Barovia.
Well, should we knock or? And I guess I'll like approach the door with my walking stick in hand. Give it a couple taps, assuming I can't reach the like metal hook or whatever it has to like properly knock.
There's a classic Victorian knocker to it that looks like a kind of like chubby face biting down on a bit. You could probably either pull the bit with your cane, or you could rap at the door with your staff itself.
Okay, I'll just rap at the door with the staff, and then if no one comes, I'll jump up there and try to like knock it midair.
After a few knocks, there's a few minutes pass by with seemingly no response. And then you start...
I hope we didn't...
Nope, continue.
I hope we didn't take too long. Perhaps he's already gone to sleep for the night. Seemed like an open invitation.
After a few more moments, you start to hear the sounds of footsteps from within before the door slowly opens. Hello, it's a pleasure to see you again. I'm glad you accepted my invitation. Come in.
Of course, Ismark. We're glad that you offered us the invitation.
Come in, come in. As you all come through the door, as he opens it, there's a large little kind of welcome entryway. It opens into a stone floor. Everything is kind of 12, 16 feet kind of square around you. There's a few different entrances and exits to this main area, and he kind of ushers you towards the back of that initial spot where you can see a hearth against the southern wall with a fire lit, and there's a few candles across a small table and seating apparently for approximately 12 people. Please come in.
What a beautiful home. Of course. You see, your family has done well for themselves. And then he'll kind of like bite his lip as he realizes his dad just passed away. So that's probably not the best thing to say.
We have been in these lands for quite some time, yes. At some time, it was certainly a wonderful place to be. Now it is just me.
No siblings or wife? No children?
Children are difficult in Barovia. No, it is just me.
Was the girl that he had said that like looked familiar, was that his sister? Or did he ever specifically tell us?
Touche, that's something we could have recapped. He mistook Sophia for his sister, Arena.
Okay, Arena was his sister. I'm gonna make a note of that.
Yep,
I
and
couldn't
he had
remember. I knew
mentioned- He had mentioned that Arena looked like Sophia. Damn it. Sophia had looked like Arena did 12 years prior. So Arena would be much older than Sophia, though he still mistook her as Sophia. As Arena. Holy shit, that's not going to be confusing at all.
Thank you for your hospitality, good sir.
It is a pleasure to welcome you. It is a pleasure to have anyone in these halls again.
Does the house look well kept up, or what?
It probably looks like it's seen better days. There's definitely going to be, like, plenty of dust and, signs that perhaps it's too much to keep up. But what are you getting at?
Just wondering if it looks like he's been the only person in there, or that he's really living there and not living somewhere else.
You could roll either could do like an investigation, or you could do a insight. It seems an awful lot like somebody is not living in this place. But it is a pretty massive house for a single person. So, but there's not too many signs that kind of give you an impression of someone living here.
Don't you get lonely in this big place all by yourself? No companionship?
Yes. I don't know if there is really a choice. My family is dying. My father has just died.
No women of interest?
I don't know if you perhaps recognize the dangers of this place. Women of interest tend to disappear and die.
All the more reason for one of them to seek out someone of your standing, protection, wealth, or even just a little comfort.
I could not protect my sister. Why would a woman think that I could protect her? The devil takes who he wants. He haunts this entire land. We are all his servant.
Interesting. Interesting.
Please enjoy some wine if you will. Rest if you would like. At your earliest assistance, I dearly need help burying my father. That is what I have hoped you might be kind enough to help with. And in the morning, we can talk of drearier things that are best not discussed near this dreadful time.
Of course, of course. Rest now and discuss business tomorrow. Couldn't agree more. And as I sort of like look around this place, do I see like pictures of his family? Like, you know, potentially his father and his sister anywhere? Or other pictures of like people? Portraits?
You can roll a perception. Just inside of this sitting room, you recognize a photo that seems to be, you can see like kind of his facial structure in a small child and a man who seems to resemble him, with a woman the age of the actual man that you can somewhat assume is him with his mother and his father. You see another picture that seems to be the same older man and like a teenage Ismark who seems to be standing with a young girl who is a spitting image of Sophia, and the older woman is now missing from the photo. There are other, or not photos, but like painting. There are other paintings that seem to be a long line of people with the same, like jet black hair, the same kind of facial structure and general like physiology as the family. And you can see that there are indeed many signs that this family has inhabited this house for quite some time.
Thank you, sir.
So if you all don't have any other questions on the immediate evening, you can take a long rest, which again, I don't think really has to be anything at all. And then we can progress forward with the morning.
Sounds good to me.
Sounds good.
So waking up the next day, everybody can kind of come to. There's dreary sound or sights of light kind of poking through the windows, but it's not a sunrise. For most ways that you would see this, it's almost like the rising of a full moon, and it really doesn't seem to be much of a new day, but your body certainly does feel rested. Your actual like sense feels like you got sleep, and that was normal, but your eyes almost tell you it's night again. And you just kind of see, eventually you find Ismark going through the sitting room. Almost exclusively you would have been in this western side of the house. Finding him still in the sitting room, you all would have been in guest quarters on that same like western side of the house. And there would be like a single room off of that main entryway that eventually you would notice that is where Kolyan is presented, like in his open casket, and you can actively see his body, essentially prepared and ready to be buried, but is currently still on display, kind of thing. And Ismark is just kind of relaxed in the sitting room, almost like just sitting there patiently waiting, kind of swirling a bit of wine in his glass, just like staring aimlessly forward, as it seems like almost autonomic that he's moving, lost in thought.
Does he seem to like react to us like entering the chamber?
If you all walk in at the same time, um, yeah, after a moment, he kind of looks up. Oh, excellent. You all are awake. I hope you found your rest comforting.
Yes, fine blend of sleep and meditation. I feel much better. How did you sleep?
Me? Um,
Yes, I hope you didn't spend the entire night out here.
uh, I'm sure I slept some.
If I walk up to him, he's still sitting down, you said?
Yep.
Eastmark, may I? And I'll reach my hands out to like take his hand.
Yes. What do you need?
I'll just put like one hand palm up, uh, like below his hand, and then my other hand palm down on top of his hand, and just close my eyes for a second, and just sort of like little meditation deal. But I'm trying to feel. Does he feel like cold to the touch, warm to the touch? Can I feel any sort of like pulse through his veins?
Do a perception check. Exact same rolls twice and twice. Yeah, he seems normal temperature. It doesn't, I don't think it would even really register. There's not like a cold to the touch. Within a few moments, you can feel kind of the pulse of his veins, and recognize the key within him.
You are a good man, noble blood, but troubled. I sense you will soon find what you're looking for.
Please
Peace.
do not tell my future like you are a Vistani. Their cursed nature is a terrible curse on this land. You should not be dabbling in their arts.
It's not your future. It's much different. I sense your energy, your spirit. I mean, no offense by it. And I'll like let go of his hand or whatever, and just sort of like give him a nod, like my apologies if I offended him.
Are you all ready? Do you care to help me now? Do you need to take food? Is there anything that I can provide for you? Lee,
Tell
Kavi?
us more of. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Just trying to call out the silent ones.
Let's lay your father to rest.
Kavi's just like standing at the back with her head down.
Do you need more rest? Were the accommodations not comforting?
Assuming he's speaking to Kavi, she just meekly looks up and says like, "Everything was fine, sir."
There is no need for that in this land. You serve no one. Please, come as a free person. I request your help as a friend. Little one, what was your question?
Oh, please just tell us more as to how or what it is that we can help you with. I understand you need help burying your father, but is there not a procession or a mortuary or some deal like that? I mean, do you need help digging the hole? Do you need protection? I'm curious.
I feel you do not understand the danger of this land. There's very few people remaining, and to be caught at unawares is extremely dangerous. People go missing when they go outside. The fact that you all walked into the blood on the vine was enough to tell me that you either did not understand the danger that you were in, or that you were brave enough to move forward courageously. Regardless, the people of Barovia, they do not leave their house. It offers the one protection that they have.
Makes perfect sense. Well, to answer your question, I suspect it was an even amount of both.
I was certainly ready to find out that you were all the new village idiots.
I wouldn't rule it out just yet, but we can still serve a purpose when necessary.
If I may suggest to your young companion, it would be best for her to stay behind. And do not invite any guests into the house. While you are here, you are family, but you must invite no one in. And Sophia kind of looks at him a little bit confused. Why can't I help you all? I can carry a casket just the same as this other short old man. I'm probably stronger than he is. It is good that you are prepared to help, but like I said last evening, there are things that must be spoken of within the daylight, and your safety. You will always attract the devil's attention in this land, and it would be wise for you to, wherever possible, not be known to be there. So the three of you,
And
what are you thinking?
I was just gonna say, combination of like in game and out of game. Like obviously we can trust him, but also this is kind of a way to like not make you play an NPC. Combination of the two, I'm assuming.
Feel like I've dropped enough clues that a redhead does not fit into this place. And you've seen signs that redheads might be the target of Strahd. If that is not clear yet, that is a spoiler, but she is in danger.
But I mean, my question being though is like typically I would think she'd be safer with us than not with us. But I'm assuming that the house is like a safe place that we can trust to leave her.
You can ask further questions of Ismark if you would like.
Ismark, will she not be safer with us than here by herself? Is there something about the house that would stop them from being able to come here and take her? She is strong, but I fear that alone she may be in danger.
If the devil were to try to take her, I do not believe you would offer anything but enough resistance to maybe break a nail, and I do not think the devil will care if he breaks a nail, massacring the three of you. I hope that is not offensive to you, but your lives are nothing compared to his strength. And for now, at home, he is able to deny him entry. And that is why I instruct her, you must invite no one inside. When you are home, and you are home, you must never invite anyone inside. Now on to something lighter. Is everybody ready to go bury my father?
Indeed.
Yes, sir.
Excellent. Let's everyone take a corner, and we will make our way to the church and see what Father Donovich can tell us as far as a place that we can lay him to rest.
Stay inside, Sophia, and remember what he said. Do not invite anyone in.
So you all can start the march with the casket, heading off to the church on the northwest of this map here. The town itself seems a little bit quieter in the day. The wailing itself doesn't seem to be there any longer, and though the mist is somewhat pushed back from the town than what you could see in the night, you do still see signs of it lingering off in the north, off in the south, and within essentially like the horizon of your view in what is like a dim light of this morning. There's kind of almost like a dome of the mist over your heads as well. It's a very claustrophobic feel of as you look around in the morning's light, you can see the mist lingers, and the only thing that seems to defy it is Ravenloft standing high on the mountaintop to the northwest. As you all progress towards the church, Ravenloft almost stands atop the actual church itself over the cliff. And you all can make your way to the church itself.
Was that wailing the same like wailing that we heard like the night before? Or is it just all over town we're hearing that?
Well, that's what I'm saying. That wailing is gone now. It was last night. But
Yeah. I mean, like right when we came into town, though, like around the I can't think of the name of it all of a sudden. The bar, we heard like a wailing. Was that the same wailing as when we like came through town though? Like, or is this just something that's just happening all over town?
You
Or
heard it in
is it even?
you heard it in different portions of the town. But probably the closest you ever got to it would have been walking from the tavern to the mansion. You would have had the Doppler effect actually, like, almost telling you which house it was coming from.
Okay.
Any thoughts from you all as you progress towards the church? Anything going on in your minds?
I think I'm probably just like going out of my way to try to actually like quote unquote hold my weight here because I'm so much smaller and not very strong. So I'm like fully focused on just trying to actually serve a purpose.
Kolyan was not a robust man at the end of his life. And this isn't like a modern day casket, so it is a much more simple wooden structure that you inter the body in, rather than like something incredibly ornate and super heavy with a bunch of adornments on it. So it's not extremely heavy. With 4 people properly carried, it doesn't take a whole lot of effort. Probably the biggest tackle would be to actually basically like hold your arms high, because your arms up are kind of like keeping it waist high with everybody else.
Okay, perfect. And can I make a little small talk while we walk?
Most certainly.
I'm not sure if you mentioned this already, Ismark, but uh, did your father pass away of natural causes by any chance?
As natural as most people are able to.
I mean, was he killed or did he just die of old age?
I believe that losing Arena was certainly the reason that he passed. I do not think that is
How
either being
long has it
killed.
been since?
Go on. I just, one
How
second,
long has
actually,
it
my
been
bad.
since? Saw you?
I just want to be clear. If the 3 of you lead this, that is so much more desirable. So anytime you all have something to say, I want to step back to listen to you, not be speaking. So my bad, Sarkis. What were you thinking?
How long has it been since you saw your sister or she was taken?
It is hard to keep track of the different times in this land. I believe she was last with us some years ago. Do not think she died when she left, but perhaps sometimes after. She had already attracted the attention of the devil. It was everything that we could do to protect her. A few years beyond her youth, as she became a woman. And I think she gave up on the idea of being a victim and stood her ground. And I think she was tortured from that point on. And I believe Kolyan could always sense it. I think when he passed was in fact when she died. And I think that was 10, 12 days ago now. I do not think it is coincidence that the little one came to this place at that same time.
Did the body look like it was sitting out for basically 2 weeks?
Kolyan?
Yes.
So I'm not familiar with everybody else's understanding of Elizabethan funerals, but for quite some time in human history, we would display a body for weeks at a time before burying or interring them. Bodies do not just rot right away. He looks like somebody who has been dead, but his body is not like rotten or anything. There's not like obscene smells. There's certain things that do eventually happen, but you have quite some time before some of the worst things happen, when you also do not effectively like puncture the stomach or gut or leave something on the ground. It doesn't just rot by being dead. So in particular, you could do a medicine check, but that's kind of what I was getting at with how he was in that front sitting room. For the early 1900s, the 19th century and the early 1900s, we did this for, I feel like often a body would be displayed for almost a month as you waited for family to travel to your home to view a loved one.
Okay.
But like, if you want to do a medicine check, you can gather a more precise date if you wanted to. But that was just me saying, like, this isn't meant to be like a trick or anything weird. It's meant to just be a different kind of looking at death.
Got it. Thank you.
So as you all pass by the blood on the vine again, you start to see the large building of the church kind of loom between the actual houses along the road as it starts to slant to the northwest. It starts to climb up a small rise. It's not like extremely steep at that point, but again, Ravenloft almost stands like in the back and above the actual church itself. And from the church's steeple, it almost rises and pierces through the base of Ravenloft. The actual building itself is predominantly stone. There are certainly aspects of it that are wood. It is extremely weathered from time. And as you get closer and closer, you actually see that there are like scratch and claw marks all over this place, both in stone as well as like on the roof. There's aspects that this place has been essentially assaulted for ages. And from within, as you all get a little bit closer, you start to hear a low hum of what appears to be a prayer, and also a little bit of kind of a screaming sound that seems to erratically pierce through the prayer within. And there are two doors about 5 or 6 feet wide and each stands about 10 feet tall.
Are there any markings on the door to like kind of get an idea of what religion the church might be practicing?
Do a religion check. Um, so probably the closest that you could gather is it appears to be a sun god of sorts. It is not in particular Lathander, but the holy symbols are very familiar to that god nonetheless.
I guess Sarkis would say, as we like hear this prayer slash like yelling or whatever, maybe this isn't the best time. It sounds like we're interrupting something.
I do not believe anything is abnormal. We can progress from here. And he'll kind of move forward a little bit and kind of caddy corner, so he's kind of a little bit closer to one of the doors, and open it. And then he starts to open the other one and kind of lets it even out so you all can progress through the doors. And within a few moments, you would see within the priest kind of at the central dais, and he kind of calls out, "Father Danovich, it is a pleasure to see you. I would like to inter my father, if you can allow us access to the cemetery." That is most unfortunate, but most certainly. Please follow me. I will take you through the gates, and we can allow you to enter, Kolyan. And kind of in the process of saying enter, you again hear a scream from within one of the rooms of this main hallway to the church.
Do we see anyone other than Father Donovich? Like any clergy or the source of the scream or anything?
Nope, not from within. Once he actually stands, recognizing Ismark entering the church, it seems like it would get quiet. There would no longer be any sounds of anybody praying, giving you at least the clue that it was just Father Donovich. And then those few moments later, you would hear the scream coming from one of the rooms, but there doesn't appear to be anybody else here.
Do we see anything that looks like blood?
Roll a investigation. There's a lot of destruction within the actual church itself, progressing forward with the casket in hand as he leads you out one of the northwestern doors into the cemetery. You pass by a lot of the destroyed pews within the church, but there's nothing that kind of jumps out at you that there's like signs of something having been bled here.
Did the vocalization sound like any of the screams from the previous night?
Do an insight for me. or it can just be a straight religion, or not religion, insight or straight intelligence. No, the screams have a different nature to them. And while it's hard to make out what is happening, it is enough that you gather last night seemed to have been somebody mourning, and this is not the screams of mourning. Mourning, not mourning.
Roll for a random encounter for the pun.
That was a clarification. That wasn't a pun.
No, I'm just messing around.
So you progress through the church. You actually are taken back into one of the different plots inside of this area. And probably one of the biggest things that would kind of stand out is the size of this village and the size of this cemetery and how densely packed all of the grave sites are. It's hard to imagine anybody's living in this village with all of those grave sites.
You said there's obviously a fence around it, and we can see that in the art. Is this like a typical, just kind of like waist high type fence with a couple little spikes on it, or is this like prison style, like barbed wire, massive like gate fence?
Well, for you, I think the fence is probably almost twice your height. I think watching someone like Ismark walk by it, who's probably tall for a human, you would see it's vaguely like neck height for him. So it's probably about like twice your height, I would think. But it's more or less like a tall end of a fence without being like a prohibitive fence. It's also not just like a delineating a border fence.
Okay, so it definitely looks like functional, like to serve a physical purpose, not just sort of like for looks.
Yeah, I think that's safe to assume there. I feel like it's probably like an old like wrought iron with like the fleur-de-lis kind of thing.
Okay, and does it look like it's like fully intact, or are there like breaks in it?
Do a perception. Is it perception or investigation for you that you're disadvantaged at? Oh, I guess it's on your character sheet.
Investigation, I have disadvantage.
Yeah, so do a perception. Quick look while you're kind of struggling to carry the casket along with everyone. It seems to be intact.
Okay, interesting. I was just curious, just because of the overall condition of the church and damage to it, if the fence was like still intact. So maybe there was like something unnatural, some sort of magic or something that was helping it to hold up.
How many of the graves look new?
Roll a... What's your investigation bonus? I feel like it's higher for you. Yeah, +4. Yeah, I think looking across this, kind of peeking at some of the, like newest looking headstones, the date that is present on them, and then the date that you see like across many of the stones, most of these stones seem to be both new and within like 15, 20 years of what appears to be some of the most recent date.
Thank you.
How many people will help Ismark dig the grave?
For what it's worth, I'll help if there's any pint-sized shovels.
Kavi most likely will.
I'll help.
So, with no lack in shovels between the four of you, it doesn't take much longer than about an hour to dig the actual grave site. Takes a little bit of effort to lower the casket in using like some like ballast to tie the rope, like ropes to, and then lowering it across ropes like down into the actual grave. You can inter him and basically like start to fill everything in, and it seems to still be kind of early in the morning as you finish that all up. Oh well, father is home and will no longer be tortured by this place. There's at least some good to come from this moment. Thank you all very much for your hard work.
Of course, I'm glad that we could help you, as you have helped us as well. In the actual grave site area, uh, can I sort of like peep any of the nearby tombstones and see if like the last names match? Like if this is sort of like the family plot.
Um, yeah, I don't think it would be absurd for you to notice that Ismark would actually stop at some of the other, and you would see him kind of like taking a moment next to one gravesite that is his mother's and is essentially right next to where you interred Kolyan.
Ah, perfect. Okay, that's what I was sort of like getting towards.
Looking over the graves and like seeing the script. Is the script even readable in this realm?
Think for what it's worth, yes. Um, it is effectively the same common that is kind of like the base language that almost permeates all cultures across like Faerun, and in many senses where there's certain like dialects that kind of have little variances, there's certainly noticeable differences that you can pick up, but the actual language itself is still translatable. if everyone is good to move on, I cannot dally in the past, and I think it would be wise for us to return and discuss the needs of the little one.
As you wish.
Father, we thank you for your assistance. Best wishes for you both. Goodbye.
Father, one thing before we go.
Yes, what would you care for, far traveler?
I'm not sure it's a necessity or even if it would serve a purpose, but do you mind blessing this for me? I'll ask him to like bless my water skin.
Do you have
Not sure if it'll actually help or anything.
silver?
Some coins perhaps.
If your intent is on having a water skin of holy water, I will need silver to make that work.
And what is the cost associated with that?
He kind of like holds out his hand in like a rough like fist size, and he's kind of looking at it, and he's think like 50 silver pieces.
And out of curiosity, do you literally need silver or will gold work? Is it a financial issue or a necessity of ingredients?
No, it is the silver that turns the... Oh, it's even more than what I said. Yeah, it's gonna be 500 silver pieces. No, it is, the silver becomes a part of the water. It is not as simple as blessing the water, but making the two one and the same.
Understood. I have little knowledge in these areas, but figured I would ask. Perhaps just a little cross and a word to comfort my soul. That's like way too rich for my blood. Can I just get him to like say a little prayer and just go through the motion?
He does like a simple little blessing for you, and just kind of moves on from it. And within a few moments, he kind of bends the knee down in front of the same dais that he was at before and begins his chant anew.
Cool.
So progress back through the town, making your way back towards the actual mansion itself. You all enter back into the actual mansion. Initial look around. You see Sophia just kind of sitting in the sitting room, just at one of the head chairs, just kind of looking over the whole room, and she's just kind of seems to be patiently waiting. Did everything go well? That seems simple enough. Yes, we are. Well, my father, he's home now, and it is good to see you are safe. Of course I'm safe.
Of course, I'm safe.
Think you're overreacting, pretending that I wouldn't be had I gone with you. Well then, you don't require our help. I think it's time for us to be leaving. You all came to take me back to my mother? You a way to leave this place? Are you prepared to try? Do you have any way to break the mist?
Mark, is there a way out of this place? Has anyone ever left here successfully?
My father has found the most common way to leave this place. But even that is unsuccessful at best. The only people who leave this place are servants of the devil.
What do you mean?
You can step through the mist and will do nothing more than find yourself returned to where you left it. Usually at a high cost. And as you spoke of last night, speaking of women and children, one day I am likely to find somebody in this land who will appear to be my father. And it will be no coincidence. His soul will one day find a new body in this place. His only respite will be how long it takes for a child to be born after he has passed.
As in reincarnation?
I am not familiar with what you might mean there. Please explain.
You live, you die, you live again, reborn in another body, an endless torture?
Do not. Do you. When you say you live, you die, and you live again, do you mean the same person? Like you will remember these things?
Well, in some religions, but in many it's more of the soul transfers into a new body, forever life, without the memories.
That is probably closer to what we understand here. I think of it as a... He goes and grabs like a deep bowl and fills it with a little bit of water from just in like a stone carafe nearby. If each drop of this water were all of the water in this house, and you drank it for every time there was a birth, those children would have a soul, but eventually the water would be gone. And until somebody dies and pours their water back in, all of the children who will be born in that time will have nothing. It is not the same water that you pour back in, but it is still water. Does this make sense to you? Is this... I think this is the best we understand of why life and death in this land are, like you say, a torture.
Sort of like an empty vessel, like the bartender.
Yes, he is most certainly one of those who is born empty. Many do not live. It is perhaps fortunate to say that he has lived, but at the same time, it's not quite the same either.
A dark fate indeed.
If your intention is to leave this place, I would suggest that you do everything you can to try. The only other thing that I can tell you is to ask you to try to hide as much as you can. Prevent him from knowing where she is. Spoke to him when you came to this place, and already he knew of her. You will not be safe in this town. No one here is. We are too close to his gaze as is. But with her, it will certainly be more dangerous in Barovia. I have heard some say that Valakai is safer, that they have the blessing of Saint Antril, but it is a long travel, and I don't want to see you go, but I understand that you must do what you think is right.
The place you speak of, Valakai, it's a long way, but how is the road not blocked by the mist?
The county of Barovia is much larger than Gistar town here. There are different lands that are cursed into this land that we live in, and the mist does not block off everything.
I'll look back at the rest of the party and then look at Sophia. If there is a safer place further from danger for this one, perhaps it's closer to home, so we should go there.
I agree.
No payment is necessary, Ismark, as your friendship is quite enough for the services we've offered you, but perhaps you could aid us on our journey with information or anything else that you could offer to make our journey less perilous.
I believe I gave you shelter for these things, but what it is that you require?
Oh, nothing in particular. I thought maybe you could offer us knowledge or perhaps tell us the way, or at least I would ask.
Oh, it seemed like you were trying to extort me for something. It seemed very, uh... Perhaps I can find an old cartographer's map for you. But as long as you do not walk into the mist, you need only travel to the west and you will find Valakai. Or death. I guess perhaps a map is worth having.
Excellent, excellent.
So he leaves the room. 5 minutes go by. He doesn't return. 20 minutes go by. Still hasn't returned. An hour goes by. Still hasn't returned.
I will call out for him.
What are you saying?
Sir, are you okay?
I'm looking for a map for you. Uh, just trying to find a map. Be patient.
Thank you, sir.
Another hour goes by.
Just for the travels, would it be worth Kavi using your disguise kit to change Sophia's appearance?
What do you think?
I think it might be for the better.
It's probably a good thought. Ah, here we go. Excellent. I've found it. This should be helpful for you. You should be able to travel across most of our lands. So, you can see here, we are in the village of Barovia. Our wonderful curse that seats over top of us. And then the long road to Valakai. Everybody see the map?
Yeah.
You see Valakai on the map to the south of Lake Zarovich?
Yeah, directly south of Lake Zarovich.
Yep.
And we are at the castle right now, right around there. Oh, I see Village of Barovia. I see it.
Well, perhaps the best thing I can share is this here. I hope it will aid you in your travels in this land. You would do well to keep to the safety of The daylight kind of like shakes his hands, like shrugging his shoulders. And I would warn you against strangers in the Vistani. And please, Sophia, please, whatever you do, please be safe. And please be weary of all things that you might come across in this land.
Before we go, I have another question for you. The women, the bar owners, they told us that we should stop and see a woman named Madame Ava and gave us directions. What can you tell us of her?
I am not aware of really any of the Vistani. I know those three there. I would suggest you avoid all of the servants of Strahd.
You mistook me for reading your fortune, and that's what they told us that she does.
It is an art that the Vistani say that they have the capabilities of doing. I think it is more likely that they give people poor fortunes and then tell the devil where they are. Seems a bit self-fulfilling when you have the devil in your pocket.
Indeed, indeed. Looking at this map right here. Um, oh, I see it. The Sur Falls. It looks like that's kind of on our way. So we're probably going to kind of pass by that area anyway. Interesting.
So on that map,
Is
that's probably
there-
the one thing that shouldn't be on that map, but on that map there is a dotted line next to Ser Pool, which is where there is a black dot, and that black dot is where the Vistani women told you you can find Madame Eva. But that's probably the one thing about that map that probably shouldn't explicitly be there, like at a quick glance, as far as giving you a map that isn't the background that you guys already have. I think that's a limited information map enough.
Okay, that makes sense. So, but yeah, it'll still kind of be on our way, it looks like, unless we literally go like straight northwest and pass right by. I'm assuming the big castle is the Strahd's castle, right?
It is indeed.
Okay, okay.
And then just from actually looking over things, you would also know that like the dotted lines to the west of the village of Barovia are essentially like cliff faces. And they also continue like south of Ravenloft. And that basically like from Sayre Falls to Sayre Pool is very steep mountain like that. There's a mountain range that kind of starts to progress from that area, and you can see the actual mountains growing there before like you see more mountains showing up, and then Mount Baratok, like that is an arm of mountains kind of growing up in that area. So it's not really, this isn't an actual like topographical map, but there's most of the roads in this place are in the lower areas of this land, and many of the areas where they show any sign of actual hills and mountains are very like steep mountainous regions as is.
This may seem ridiculous, and honestly, just even asking it already seems ridiculous, but said to try to avoid traveling at night, but truth is, I can't tell the difference in this place. Is there a way to know day and night?
There's a slight difference that you will perhaps gain with time here, but no, not really. For most purposes, travel is very dangerous. Most people who leave their house, they die. They are never seen from again.
I figured I would ask, but sort of suspected that. So, is now a good time to leave?
It is certainly as early as can be expected for the day. If you delay much longer, I would say it would be best to wait even longer than that. But from what I remember hearing, I think it is maybe 12 or so hours of travel to get to Valakai. I think leaving now, you would possibly get there a little after dark.
Well, let us hope that we are lucky and find our way to Valakai and we don't meet again. But if we ever find ourselves back in Barovia or prevented from leaving, then we'll appreciate everything you've done for us and see you again. But let us all hope that we do not.
I hope you can find the freedom that you are looking for. But I think it would be safe to say that we are likely to see each other again when you find that you cannot leave this place. But hopefully Valakai offers you safety.
Sophia, Tavi, Lee, shall we go?
Time like the present.
So I'm just going to point out that during the moment he was looking for the map, Kavi and Sophia were changing Sophia's clothes, so she's like wearing a black wig and more of like peasant clothes with a cloak.
Do a performance, and you can add your proficiency bonus to it.
It would be a +2, so 13.
Yeah, so I think through most of that time, Sophia would be kind of fighting, squirming, complaining. But in general, you feel like you've been able to get her appearance at least somewhat kind of hidden and changed for this next little leg. And you all can head out. In the last moment, Ismark does kind of like bring Sophia in for a big hug, and she clearly is like, okay, let me go. But he like holds her for a few moments and then just kind of looks longingly at you all. Blessings be upon you all in your travels. Be safe. Avoid the devil. And keep to yourselves. Goodbye, my friends. Bye, Arena.
Thank you, brother. An unlikely ally in an otherwise dark place. We are very grateful for what you've done for us.
You all have the road ahead of you. Can head out of the west gate of Barovia and onto the old Svalich Road. What immediate thoughts do you all have about traveling?
I kind of think time is of the essence as far as moving at a fairly good pace.
So I'm thinking we follow that river basically. Are we gonna try to avoid the Vistani? Are we gonna try to visit? Oh, I guess I can be in character. It seems as if along the way we will encounter the Madame Ava woman they spoke of. Should we attempt to have our fortunes read? Should we avoid her? Seems almost like an obvious answer would be to keep our distance.
Yes, we should avoid that.
I would prefer to avoid anyone associated with Strahd.
So yeah, I guess we'll try to make good time as quick as possible, stick towards the river, and then try to avoid her as best we can.
So like the actual exit of Barovia, you'll take the road and you're basically trying to travel directly towards the river from there. And then once you get to the river, you're going to follow along the river off the road.
Oh wait, I might be looking at this map wrong. Okay, so the road is in black going down here. This one's much more detailed. So when we walk, okay, yeah, I guess we would just stick to the road then, and then the dotted trail is kind of like a shortcut. Is that what's going on?
Seems to be.
And looking at this map, obviously, versus the other one, does that dotted trail connect back to the road that leads where we're going, or is that stop off at the town, which is sort of where the Madame Ava woman is?
I don't think you really have too much more information on that.
Well, from the map that we got from the gentleman, it showed a dotted trail that led off to them. Or we really don't have that information.
I think his question was, though, does that lead where you're trying to go and not to that group?
Oh,
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to basically like encounter them, but sort of like avoid them as best we can because it seems like it basically leads straight past them. The other option would obviously be to travel along the river, which would probably take longer, take us closer to Castle Ravenloft, but be at least on the other side of that pool. But it's probably going to be tough trying to not travel on the road. I mean, it's probably going to be tough traveling on the road regardless, but I don't even know if not being on the road is an option.
What are y'all thinking?
I don't think going down the river is probably the best option.
If we past the Vistani and they are the servants of Strahd, then how will we ever make it by without Strahd knowing? I
That is
suspect
exactly what I was thinking. Sorry.
oh, you're good. If he doesn't want anyone to leave this place, they almost seem like guards in a sense that would alert him if anyone attempts to. So perhaps rather than try and be fast, we should try and be sneaky.
Okay.
It doesn't seem wise to avoid the road, but if we're to get this one out of town safely, perhaps that's the only option. I'm just thinking if we go through that town, they're 100% going to let Strahd know. So even if he doesn't know that we have Sophia with us, like, what's it to him to just stop by or send somebody by to just check up on us? Versus it might suck and take longer to travel, not on the road, but at least it gives us a possibility that we could like make it out of town without them knowing. I mean, I imagine they're probably literally like station guards watching the road, in that sense.
Okay, I'll go with it.
What do you think, Key?
I think we could stick within the shadows of the trees, especially since it's already dark out, more or less. That way, we're hidden more in the shadows than we are the light of the moon.
So you think take the road through like their little camp and just try to like duck off at the last minute?
No, I'm saying like walk along the main road, but stay like off of it, but in the shadows of the trees.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But like the main road literally goes like, oh, are you saying don't take the little dotted path that's on there?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I mean, that's definitely an option. We could give it a shot.
All right, let's do it.
Alrighty. Let me have you all roll some stealths as you leave Barovia and start to kind of step off the edge and into the cover of the tree. Alrighty. So, as you all leave Barovia, heading off on kind of the open plains beneath the cliffs of Ravenloft, you take to the trees kind of as quickly as you can, keeping the first semblance of the road within sight at any given point. You start to travel generally in that southwesterly direction until you eventually gain sight of the crossing of the river Ivlis, and you are able to kind of take a few minutes watching side to side. There doesn't appear to be any action on the road, and when it seems nice and clear, you can't really hear anything. You all take a moment to dash across the actual crossing, making your way to the other side of the river. And seems like it was safe. Seems like you weren't noticed. You start to move on deeper into the woods. You hear a lot of signs of things around you. Just different kind of calls from birds. Spot a crow here and there. Hear the scratching of other creatures. Kind of creeping of like small forest creatures when you stop to listen to see if there's anything catching on to you. You're probably about an hour out of Barovia, still within view of the actual crossing behind you to the northeast. What are you all thinking?
Have there been like distant sounds of like wolves at all?
Roll a perception check. Doesn't seem to be any howls on the air. Seems pretty calm and quiet at present.
I would like to keep my eyes out for any of like the birds or any other creatures appear to be following us.
Roll a perception. Seems pretty typical of a forest to kind of have like an abundance of animals, and it appears they're kind of keeping their distance from you and flittering off, flying off, running off as you all get closer to them.
Excellent. I'm down with just proceeding, making good time.
So am I. Oh, and Flea is kind of in gray man mode.
What are you going for there?
Just kind of stealth and blending into the background.
So, I would say, generally speaking, the point of Gray Man is to be unnoticeable and unremarkable. So, like, a human in the middle of a forest, Gray Man is not really like something that you blend into other humans rather than trees. But
You're right, wrong application.
but like you guys already determined by walking inside of the trees that you're walking at a slow pace trying to be stealthy. That's why I had you all roll stealth. So you all can do another roll for stealth here.
Hey, as much as it can work, I think it worked, Flea.
Yep.
I mean, you just had to travel on all fours.
Yeah, that's so funny. Yeah, maybe he just got down on all fours and literally just blended in as like a forest creature.
Fleas and all.
Let me have all of you roll a d12. That one is missing. Flea, can you roll a d12 for me, please? All right. Assuming he doesn't roll a 12, Sarkis, will you roll a d100? Alrighty. So, as you're moving through the edge of the forest, passing away from the Ivlis River, starting to move towards the west there, you start to see the first signs of where the road starts to take a more like fully westerly path. And you're within the trees, and all of a sudden, a little piece of orange kind of catches your eye, and you focus off to the side and you look at this, and you notice that there's a piece of parchment kind of just dropped to the ground just inside of the trees, a little bit beyond where you all are walking.
Okay, I guess I'll just put my finger up to my lips, like quiet, and then I'll like tap Kavi and Lee and point at the parchment.
Lee's going to look around and see if he can see anything up in the trees at all.
Look around, doesn't seem to be anything there.
Well, since I'm already on all fours, I guess I'll act
Can I do
like
an Arcana check on it? See if it just like poofed in.
I don't think you have a set, like, that's not really what the Arcana would be of. Like, Arcana would be to try to understand any magical meaning on something like that. Or, like, trying to interpret, watching somebody cast a spell, trying to interpret, like, what arcane thing is happening there. You want to pick it up and try to interpret if there is an arcane meaning to what this paper is?
I really didn't want to touch it, but sure.
So
I'm gonna sort of like cover them while they go for this, like sort of just looking in the trees or for any kind of motion or anything to make sure it's not like an ambush.
Yep, you can look around and doesn't appear to be anything around. But roll an Arcana. Looking over this thing, doesn't really seem to be any drawings of like a magical nature. It doesn't appear to be anything that seems to be arcane in nature. It seems to just kind of be a drawing of some sort of creation almost.
A creation that we can't really make out, or kind of like a missing, or like there needs to be like more to it, kind of like a puzzle.
It's not magical. You can't interpret it with a magical perspective. Kind of look it
What
over.
is it, Kavi?
More like a drawing, almost as if somebody were planning to make something and they kind of drew up some designs.
Can I take a look at it and do an investigation at disadvantage?
What are you investigating for? I think it would just be like a straight
Oh,
intelligence
just if
check.
Oh yeah, that's good. Intelligence is good too. I just meant like basically if I could look at the drawing and see if I could tell what it is a drawing of, or if it's plans to, you said to like maybe build something, like what it builds.
Yeah, so like investigation's normally searching for something. So that's why I think it would be more like just a straight
That's why I got
intelligence
you.
interpreting it, or like a wisdom interpreting like what the designs are of. I don't think there's anything to like search for a trap that would be an investigation.
Oh no, you're good. I definitely don't want to, so that's fine. I thought it would have to be investigation because I was like investigating it. But yeah, I'll do wisdom if that's okay. See if I recognize what it is.
We would like to look at it as well.
Seems like at some point somebody was drawing up some sort of complex mechanical contraption and apparently lost a piece of paper of this drawing.
So is it schematic?
Yeah, essentially. It's more of like a blueprint kind of thing than anything.
Okay, because I was trying to figure out the term to use. That was the first one that popped in my head.
But basically, whatever it is, it's too complex for us to even have any idea what it is.
Yeah, let's go with that.
We should keep moving, but perhaps it's worth saving.
I agree. Maybe we can sell it.
So yeah, I think whoever just would pocket it and we'll keep moving.
I'll pocket it.
Do another round of stealths here. Not long into your travel, you all come across a point where it seems like the road starts to diverge. There is a large contraption at this point where there's almost a stage with a overhanging set of like posts that allows like an overhang to cross, like a beam to cross between, and otherwise cover the actual stage. And from where you're at, you can see that there is a road that continues off to the west of you, and some signs of what was once a path that kind of diverges towards the north.
Let's keep going west.
Looking at our map, do we have a rough idea where we're at on the map right now?
Like the crossroad where the dotted line meets the Svalich Road.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I would say keep going west away from that little village. Keep trying to.
So, as you all begin to move on, moving past that little crossroad, you start to hear behind you like a creaking sound as if the wood is being strained behind you.
I'll look back and try to see what's up.
Roll a perception check. Anyone else looking?
Not really looking, but for some reason, Kylie's trying to figure out the notes they're making.
So we hear behind us wooden creaking. Does it sound like it was coming from the contraption you described? Yeah, I'll investigate it or look at it or whatever.
It's a perception. So, as this sound starts to peek into your ears, it seems odd to have been silent while you were coming up on the crossroad. And give in, turning around to look behind you. First Flea, and then Sarkis. Seems to be a humanoid hanging from the gallows behind you. You can see the rope, you can see their feet dangling. And though it doesn't really catch your eye, Sarkis, Flea, you notice that this creature's tail is just barely longer than its legs.
Does it look to be still alive?
Doesn't seem to be moving.
Can Flea understand or reason out why he didn't see this before?
No roll needed. It wasn't there before. You want to go further into detail what you might be wondering about? You can ask me that question.
How long has it been since we passed the gallows?
Moments. Like the creaking sound started pretty much as soon as the gallows were outside of your actual vision.
I say we keep moving.
Do you say that out loud?
Yeah.
Kavi, roll a wisdom check for me. I think your curiosity would get the best of you, as well as Sophia, as she says, keep moving from what?
I'll explain what I see on the wooden gallows.
Oh my.
It's dead.
Kavi, do you look?
Yeah.
Roll a perception for me, Kavi. You see the very familiar signs of curled horns, a long, very familiar tail. You look back, you see yourself hanging on these gallows. And Sophia sees the same thing as she exclaims in fright upon being told what is behind you.
Well, she just fell flat on her ass.
Feel like just for like a moment as Sophia just like very softly touches you, and then after a second she loops her arm underneath your like elbow to elbow, and Come. We need to go. Just stand with me. You can lean on me.
She doesn't really respond, but like she does gets up and starts walking away.
It can't be there. I can feel you. You're here. You're okay. Let's just move on. All right, to our feet. Let's go. Everyone, come on. Move. Move along.
Let's
Sarkis will just be confused, kind of what everybody's freaking out about, because I'm assuming I did not make out that it was Kavi, and just sort of curiously help her keep moving.
There's no reason as they kind of interact with it to not notice it. Those rolls were more to determine whether you two recognize right off the bat. Like once you explain.
I got you. Just an illusion. Keep moving. Everything's fine. It can't be real.
Another round of stealths here as you all move along the western road deeper into the forest. So you start to move away from the crossroads, leaving them behind you, keeping off the road as you can. But you're starting to get into denser forest. It seems to be much more difficult to travel. And you're starting to get to different points where there's webs almost across every single tree. And you're walking through what at first is small spider webs, but constantly that eerie feeling of walk through a web. Please don't let me feel something walking on me. Please don't let me feel something walking on me. And you just keep to it, and you start to climb as you can feel the land beneath you is starting to rise into these mountains. And you start to move beyond, and you're still deep in the forest, but you're just starting to come across the sound of water falling through the air and splashing into the ground below. You know that is at least a sign that you're getting closer and closer to Sayre Falls, which is perhaps the most dangerous section of this travel, as you must pass by the last gates of Barovia and the road to Castle Ravenloft. Need one more stealth roll here. What a great time to roll a fucking 20! Sorry for celebrating that. So, as you all look off from within the forest, you see as it gets more and more sparse, everything's kind of turning into pines. You see the river ahead, and you start to move out from the forest where there's less and less cover. And you've got about a quarter of a mile to cover along this little spot here to make your way to the gate. And from the gate, you're much closer to the somewhat straight shot towards Valakai. And you keep a watch, looking to the east, to the west, watching north. You don't hear anything behind you to the south. Start to make a break for it, keeping where you can, off to the sides of the actual road, trying to make your way where you can in the most secretive ways. And within 100 feet or so of the actual gate looming before you, massive statues standing 60, 80 feet tall, humanoids in full armor, massive wrought iron gate between them. Within 100 feet, you start to hear the clippity-clop of hooves behind you, and you hear the familiar sound of the wagon rolling behind that. And after a few moments, turn to see Rahadin sitting atop the black wagon, drawn by 2 black horses. And he yells off from a distance, "Welcome, friends. My master would invite you for dinner. Please do not hurry on. It is time to enjoy a feast, not to run into the forest at night."
And it's safe to assume he's for sure talking to us.
Yeah, you looked around, you didn't see anyone else around here. And I mean, unless you want to do everything you can to not look in his direction, when you look back to see what's coming, you see him staring at you, watching you.
Can he see me even though I rolled a 20, or really can't determine that?
You guys do not know how stealthy or not you are. Rolling group stealth is you all as an amalgamation.
How far roughly are we right now from our destination?
This is vaguely from what you gathered about like a halfway point almost.
I will look over to the party and say, I'm not sure how much of a choice we have at this point, and I don't think we'll be outrunning him on foot.
Or we can act like we never heard him.
I'm going with the never heard him and maybe veer a little deeper into the wood.
Said you're moving deeper into the wood.
That was my suggestion.
Kabi agrees with the suggestion.
I'm pretty sure he noticed us. He called out to us, but whatever you want to do.
My master will be displeased if I do not give you the invitation. But if you must run off, I would warn you. The wolves will just have to find you for me. But the invitation is still good. Don't let the bed wolves bite you in the night. So you all are progressing through the woods to try to move forward.
Does it seem like he's just sort of like coming behind us on the trail still?
You can roll a perception at disadvantage here. Seems to be kind of stopped at the end of the road from Ravenloft, but basically like just off from the actual gate, like the actual those monolithic stone statues and the gate that was at that point, which is the path that you all had on the map. And the wagon's just sitting there.
Yeah, I'll just stick with whatever everybody else is doing. So if we're going into the woods, I will go into the woods with them.
So another round of stealth checks from you all. So as you all move off in the direction that you believe you need to travel to get to Valakai, you hear off in the north, and then coming from the west, much closer to the east, each one getting closer than the last.
Won't be long now. Perhaps we should devise a plan. Are we going to try and fight them or submit?
You all take a second to think about that. I am going to take a quick break here. Everybody who needs to take a break, you can take a break, but we will rejoin this in a moment.
I get the feeling no matter how many times we try this, we'll probably run into the same thing.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. The illusion of free will.
Pretty much.
Because we rolled pretty good. So if that wasn't enough to get by, I doubt there's anything we could have done to get by.
Yeah, either way, we're screwed. Kind of makes you wonder how many gods can you be possessed by at the same time.
Probably only one.
I mean, I got black fur already. What else can I get? Maybe I'll blend in.
Did anybody else actually step away?
I believe we're all still here.
Yep.
What are you all thinking?
Pretty much that we're screwed.
Free will is but an illusion.
I mean, realistically, I rolled a 19 when you guys found the parchment, and then I rolled a 20 when you were crossing one of the only open areas of land directly in front of Ravenloft, and then followed that with an 18. So, like, your actual travel is more dangerous because you guys are traveling off the road and it's slower. That's a choice.
I mean, we could abandon the whole south and just book it onto the main road and try and get as far as we can.
Well, if these are the same type of wolves that we met at the beginning, at least we're 2 levels higher now. What do we want to do, folks?
I'm good with whatever. It seemed like we're probably still like 6 hours away, so we could probably either just try to keep moving and, you know, when they catch up to us, they catch up to us, or we can try to like prepare and catch them off guard when they approach. I don't know. I'm not sure what other options we have.
Are they?
As a good friend once say, we can burn it to the ground.
Okay, then let's do it.
I don't know if there's a definitive answer in that. I would like burn it to the ground could mean that we're gonna sit back and fight. It's gonna be that we're gonna light the forest on fire. We're gonna try to run.
It was to set the forest on fire.
You are currently hiding inside of the forest. Is that your goal?
This forest on fire. I'm good with whatever. I really don't. Doesn't matter to me.
Do we have any defensible positions nearby or not really?
What are you looking for?
Something so that they can't come at our backs.
Are we still at that waterfall?
The waterfall is what, like little under a quarter of a mile to the south of you. You would have to cross back over the open land to get to the waterfall.
All right, I say we just keep booking it then. If we're gonna try to get away, let's try to get away.
Let's go.
Going back to the road or sticking to the forest?
I think just for running sake, the road would be better.
Yeah, but the gate is fortified and well guarded, it sounds like.
What do gates usually do?
Open.
End?
Close and lock.
Why do you put a gate somewhere?
Keeping someone in or out.
Gonna go for the road or you gonna go for the forest?
I say the forest.
Does everybody agree to the forest?
Yeah, sure.
Kavi, forest?
Yeah.
Let me get an intelligence roll from everybody. Lee, Kavi, thinking it over for a moment, both of you recognize the idea that it would kind of be pointless to have a gate if you could just walk beside the gate to get through it. You guys want to go through the forest? This is me trying to tell you, you guys are at the Gates of Barovia. If you go through the forest, you're gonna find a wall.
I.e., just go for the road and make it work, right?
Yeah, if we have to, we'll just scale it.
Well, you wondered about a defensible position, so that is an option. But my point was to bring up that if you go through the forest, he probably didn't put a gate in the middle of his land to say, this is the one place you can walk. It's probably to funnel people into this gate. It's kind of what they do. They create a choke point.
Let's just make for the wall. We can put our backs to it and then climb over it when we're done.
I'm not getting your description here. I'm picturing this gate around Castle Ravenloft. Like the gate leads the road that leads into like the castle, the same way like a moat would be around like a castle, but this is like a gate around the property, and we're outside of this. Is that an accurate description?
You guys are inside of the Gates of Barovia.
So the gate does not go around Castle Ravenloft. It goes around all of Barovia. Is that what you're saying?
You should be able to see the orange line is essentially what these gates lock off. That is the immediate Barovia that these gates block. I described with Strahd on, I think it was the first session, that he said at one point, it's disappointing that you didn't get to see my gates as you came in through the mist. And that was the eastern gate of Barovia. I think both gates are on the map that you would have seen from Israel.
Okay, I got
Yeah.
you.
They're
So,
little gates on the actual map where the line comes down from Castle Ravenloft. You can see the one gate on Svalich Road on the western end, and just before the mist, you can see the easternmost gate on the old Svalich Road on that map. Those are the two gates of Barovia.
Okay, and where is the carriage at right now?
He's basically at that little crossroad right before the western gate.
And where are we at right now?
Kind of like southwest of the gate, on like the entrance of the forest, like northwest of the Sayre Falls.
Okay, I say we try to go for the gate and get through it. Because if we can't get through it, it's still going to be a wall. So it'll at least cover our backs. And if we can, maybe we can get out of Barovia and they won't follow us.
I'm up for whatever.
Yeah, I agree that we should try and go for the gate.
Yeah, I was definitely getting the impression before that like the gate was like around Castle Ravenloft, not around like all of Barovia.
He doesn't have to protect Ravenloft from anybody else. I think that would have been the image. I had that prepared for coming through the east gate. There's not really a good one for... I guess that would be the opposite side. If you were going east through the west gate, that's the kind of image that you would have where Ravenloft sits. Yeah, that actually is coming from Valakai towards Barovia. Because Ravenloft is northwest. Or, like, on the left side of the actual gate itself. So, in the initial run from Rahadin, you all break into the woods, and as the howls of the wolves start to cross through the Svalich woods, you start to think about your options and make your way back into the clearing and run for the gate itself. And again, as you all make for the gate, you will hear Rahadin yelling towards you from a distance. Please, the wolves will not harm you. If you come to dinner with my master, you need only accept his invitation, and you will be safe. You continue into the night. It will be perhaps a different story that we will be telling.
I'm just keeping going.
Yeah, coffee won't stop.
You are making terrible decisions. They will find you within moments. But we will see you soon. Good evening to you all. And good night.
Making bad decisions? Great again.
I'll hear the howls getting closer as you make your way for the gates. Passing through the gate, you can look back and see Rahadin still sitting there on the black carriage, silhouetted with Ravenloft standing high behind him, and the sound of the wolves getting closer and closer.
Any chance of closing the doors?
Did you look at the picture?
Yeah, there's some big doors. I didn't know if there was a windlass around or something like that.
Do you want to stop and try to close the doors?
Nah, I'll just keep running.
So, if everybody is moving forward, let me have you all make stealth checks at disadvantage.
What's the point of the gate if you can just go through it? Just to bottleneck so they can see us and then invite us?
well, when you walk through the east gate, it actually slams shut behind you.
Oh yeah, I guess it was sort of more like hypothetical question.
Overall, though, like the perception of what Rahadin's doing there, how Strahd treated you all before, you're already there for the picking. Like, they don't have to chase after you. They'll get you. They're confident that you can't leave. They know. So the howling of the wolves seems to kind of unify behind you all. And for a moment, they start to sound as if it's getting a little bit further away, perhaps. And you all can continue forward. What would you like to do?
I think keep moving as fast as we can.
I'm good with that.
Same.
Oh, actually, it was super close. Flea, I need you to roll another stealth check. That was a disadvantage.
How do I do it at disadvantage?
I mean, for now, just roll another one because you have the 17. But normally, if you click on the red die from Beyond 20, you can set it to always roll twice. It's like midway down, and that way, disadvantage or advantage, it doesn't matter. I think that still beats. So everybody's good, still running forward. Another round of stealth. Oh wait, that was a religion check. Yeah, so that was even higher too. Another round of stealth checks at disadvantage. Of course, y'all would finally roll low on stealth when I roll a fucking 2. So, running along the road, leaving the Gate of Barovia behind you, you all are starting to trail down this arm of the mountains, back towards the actual valley that the river Imlis kind of passes through, or Ivlis passes through. Within the horizon, far off in the horizon, you actually see an old stone windmill that seems to be just kind of out of distance, just starting to appear like on the actual distance. The road itself just kind of streaming almost directly towards that windmill. And though the howls of the wolves seem to be keeping somewhat close to you, they do seem to be a little bit further off than before. You seem to be making some ground on them.
And the trail that we're on, the way that we're going, leads towards the windmill?
Yeah, right now you see the road starting to lead towards the windmill off in that distance.
We may not be losing them, but they don't sound like they're gaining on us. Is everyone okay to keep moving?
Yep.
Yeah.
Continuing running forward.
Yes.
Yeah, still just going towards Valakai.
All right. So on this one, let me have you all make Constitution checks and then stealth at disadvantage.
Now, when I roll at disadvantage, they don't go over to the main screen, so I'll just roll 2.
I don't think it was posted, but my Constitution check was an 18.
Where did I see? So as you all run a little bit further southwest along the road, you start to see as the road ahead of you seems to split, keeping in the direction that you are currently going. It would lead towards this windmill ahead of you. If you follow the other direction of the road, it starts to lead off to kind of the northwest of you. And as you are running along this section here, you hear the howl of a wolf to the south of you.
Does this windmill like look like an old broken down windmill, or is it like still got like a like fan turning on it? Are there any lights? Does it appear to be inhabited?
You're still a ways off from it as you're like running up against the crossroad. You can do a perception check though. It seems old, perhaps still functional, but it doesn't actually seem to be moving right now. A lot of signs seem to point to its like dilapidated. You see like a single candle light maybe kind of flickering across one of the windows.
And how close does the wolf sound?
It's nearby, but your attention is kind of drawn towards the windmill, so it's hard to really get a good idea of where it is, other than this one seems to be in front rather than the others that you've been dealing with being behind you.
Perhaps we can make it to the windmill. I think I see a candlelight. Maybe we can find safety there.
Let's go.
What did that just leave us trapped, though?
What was your question?
That windmill's the only structure around it, right?
Yeah, it's like a lone windmill kind of sitting across like a hillock.
Yeah, like by going there, the wolves would just circle on us and we would just be trapped there.
Definitely a possibility. The other option is just keep running. I just don't know how long we can legitimately keep running for before we like start having negative connotations.
Do we have an idea of how much farther we have to run to what's its place?
While you guys are fleeing these things, you can't really like bring out the map to look at things. But again, it wouldn't have been absurd for you to note that the Gates of Barovia, or the western gate of Barovia, was a halfway point.
And is this windmill like a big stone structure, or is it like a janky ass, like old wooden rotten windmill?
It's probably on that janky ass old wooden rotten windmill style. But for now, you're still kind of a ways off from it. It's more that you can see a silhouette of the windmill than that you can see a lot of qualities to it.
But the windmill is clearly off course, not towards the direction we're traveling already.
Roll an intelligence check. Yeah, I don't think there's any more information to give you than what you have. So if you think currently that it was off course, I think that's where you would be thinking it.
Would Kavi have a better time like gauging distance of the wolf that's south of us?
Generally speaking, the person who asks the question will get a roll because that's what they're going for. And it's where you kind of have to like give me more information to get in on a roll. It's not an infinite amount of rolling to get a solution. So if you want to take some time to slow down to try to get gain knowledge on how close the wolf is, that's something that you can do, but it's going to cost you speed to try to gauge how close that wolf is.
Can I get a general feeling of if we will make it to the windmill before the wolves arrive?
Based on what?
Well, the howls we're hearing around us and how far off in the distance the windmill is.
Yeah, I feel like that's the same question reworded. So you guys can slow down to try to gather more information about the wolves and the windmill. But essentially what I'm telling you here is that you all have that choice ahead of you, and it is very uncertain. It's not meant to be, let's stop for tea time and decide. This is, you guys have a flash decision. Are you running for the apparent safety of a structure, or are you keeping on track?
Figuring we're, basically halfway, meaning we've got another 6 hours to go. I'm thinking the rickety ass windmill sounds good.
Does windmill sound good for everyone?
Yeah, I think we can make it work.
Seems like a trap. A windmill in the middle of nowhere with nothing around would naturally draw anyone to it, but may not have another choice, so.
So you all continue forward towards the windmill as the trail before you starts to head up into these hills. The howl of a wolf from the south seems to be getting closer and closer. Those from behind seem to be honing in on this area. And after a few moments' time, you get a closer look at this windmill that seems very old and forgotten, but the door stands before you, and it seems like the safety that you need to get away from wolves.
If I look back over my shoulder as we get to the windmill, can I see the wolf yet? And is there one or more?
Do a perception. And you're looking to the north of you, like northeast, towards those that would have been coming from the gate, not those that came from to the south. Is that what you're getting at?
No, I want to look back at the closest one, the one that sounded like it was the closest.
All right,
it sounded
looking
like
to
there
the
was
south.
one ahead
I got
of all
you.
the rest. Yeah. Like I want to see if we can potentially. What I'm thinking is if we could maybe ambush this lone wolf and stop it from calling out to the rest of them to where we're at.
Yes. So from what you can see where you're at, there seems to be a wolf running towards you all at the actual windmill. It's still a ways off, but it's closing in on you.
There's one closing in from the south. Perhaps we can ambush it and stop it from alerting the rest, but I don't know. Perhaps we'd be better off just barding up now. What do you think?
I'm good with whatever.
As
If
you go ahead, Galvin.
If we take shelter in the windmill, we may have to find a way to reinforce this door.
Now that we're closer, you had said we kind of saw like maybe a candlelight. Does this, as we like get to the windmill, does it appear that there's anyone here or it's inhabited or anything? Could we maybe call out and see if we get a response?
You should ask. That was what I was getting at. So as you basically call out the idea of going after the wolf, you actually are standing essentially in front of the windmill already. After a few moments, the door is going to swing open. There's a little old lady who's kind of hunched over herself. She's got a little cart in front of her, and she kind of looks up with, like, kind of throwing back her hood a little bit. You see just white, long hair and just a very wrinkly old face. And she kind of looks up at you, she's like, "Oh, what a surprise. Were you all coming for dream cakes?"
Not to be rude, ma'am, no time for small talk, but we're being followed by wolves, and they may turn into nightmare cakes if we don't do something quickly.
"Oh, the wolves won't bother you here. You're fine."
Are you sure they just don't bother you here?
Well, it's a possibility, but they should be well kept outside. If you're all afraid, perhaps you should come in. Please, come. Enter. Have a cake. Do you like pastries?
Look back at the rest of the party and look back at the wolf.
So, like, from where you're from at the door, you can, like, glance to everybody in the party, obviously. The wolf seems to be, like, just outside of the main clearing around the top of this hill. and it just kind of seems to like be slowing its pace and just kind of watching from where it is. Well, if the wolves are gonna get you, you should come in. But if you feel safe enough, I'll be on my way. I have dream pastries to sell.
We appreciate your hospitality, but before we enter, can I ask you a question? Are you a friend or ally of Strahd?
I'm not sure if he has any friends. It's actually a really good question.
I'll nod, shake my head yes to the party, see what they have to say.
Let's go with it.
Yeah, we could head in.
Ooh, aren't you a beautiful one? Just looking at Kavi, eyeing your tail. You kind of like walk by her and you feel like an old wrinkly hand touch your tail. Oh, it's intriguing. What are you, little dearie?
Just a little action causer, like just like shoot straight up, kind of like a cat does when startled.
As you kind of like stand to attention getting startled like that, she's holding like a little dream pastry out in front of your face. Dream pastry? They're delicious.
Thank you. She confusedly takes it.
Yes, you're most welcome. They're quite wonderful. Few night sleeps in Barovia can be as wonderful as those that are the gifts of dream pastries. Dream pastry? And she's got one in her hand, like putting it in front of Flea's face. Dream pastry? And she's got one in her other hand, and she puts it in front of Sarkis's face, and then she's staring at Sophia. Ooh.
Thank you, but I'm not going to eat it.
Dream pastry? And she puts one in front of Sophia's face.
Perhaps now is not the best time, but we appreciate it. What, may I ask, is your name?
I have it here, but I have to actually find it here in my note.
Oh, no problem, as long as it's not Madame Ava.
Morgantha! And what is your name, little one? Eat, eat! They're delicious!
I am Sarkis Shadowstorm. It's a pleasure to meet you. And these are my companions.
Shadowstorm, that sounds delightful! Where did you get that name from?
It's a family name. It was given to me by my elders.
Tell me, who earned that name? Where did it come from before you? Who was the elder that was the Shadow Storm? It's a delightful name. Dream pastry? Eat, eat! And she's gonna push the dream pastry that Flea is holding. They're quite delicious.
I'm just going to say thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm just going to kind of try to placate her, but I'm not going to eat it unless I absolutely, not going to eat it right now.
It's quite rude to be a guest and refuse food. Surely you should actually enjoy my hard work. Look at these old wrinkly hands and how much pain and arthritis I've dealt with just to make these wonderful pastries to share with everyone. And you don't want to enjoy it?
Madame, the pastries smell amazing. I've ran so hard, I feel like throwing up, and I don't want to make a mess.
Here,
And you
here,
want
drink this. This will make you feel better. And she like grabs a little water pouch and hands it towards you.
While this is going on, I'm gonna try to like circle around, like kind of behind her, out of sight, and I'm gonna like give like the no-go symbol for like eating or drinking.
no.
Do a performance check and a sleight of hand. No, you know what? Do a performance and a stealth. As you're like doing some sort of foreign hand movement, she kind of turns around and she says she's doing the same thing to you, like dream pastry, and she's pushing your dream pastry towards your mouth.
Lee's shoving his dream pastry in his pocket.
You all are so insulting. Why would you come in here and enjoy my hospitality but insult my cooking?
Ma'am? We haven't had a proper dinner yet, so we can't have dessert.
I thought you came here for my dream pastries. Perhaps I was wrong. You say there are wolves outside and I hear nothing. I think you should be on your way. Somebody who is nice and kind would enjoy my dream pastries, especially since you didn't even have to pay for them.
As much as I would like to try the dream pastry, madame, please don't take this the wrong way. I have food allergies, so I probably cannot sustain this, and I don't want to offend you.
Now you're saying my food is poison? How insulting.
Unfortunately, it's not a choice of mine. I typically have to stick to water and boring ration. I don't suppose you have any raw meat.
Raw meat. That is what delights you.
More like sustains me.
Hmm. And you? Do you have a food allergy? Do you have a food allergy? How about yourself? To the other three of you, food allergies?
Probably not a food allergy, but probably like a sugar intolerance, just from not having sugar in her diet.
You didn't even ask if they had sugar in them. Maybe they don't even have sugar.
Do they have sugar?
Eat it and taste. And see if it's sweet enough for you.
I'm gonna try to like change the subject and distract her. So, Morganta, do you live alone here in the windmill? Tell us a little bit about yourself. Obviously, you're a pastry chef. What other hobbies do you have? Do you get lonely out here?
No, I don't. I actually live with my sisters.
Ah, your sisters, you say. And are they here now, or?
Yes, they are.
Ah, so obviously you're the chef of the family. What sort of profession do they have?
We all share the work equally. Bella does the butchering, Ophalia does the cooking, and I sell the pastries. I'm good with people, you see. I'm a people person.
Yes, you are. And just out of curiosity, how do you keep the wolves away? Seems like they'd be drawn to all this food.
Maybe it's magic.
Ah, interesting. I don't know much of magic. Perhaps you could show us what form of magic do you practice?
Perhaps we can. Ophalia, dear! Bella! We have guests, and they are afraid to eat our delightful children.
So obviously, the second she says that, I'm gonna try to get the door back open.
As she says that, this little old lady almost seems to like melt away with acid as you see this like haunched black figure kind of stand up out of it with long lanky limbs and just an incredibly gaunt face. No, no. Now's not the time to run. Those times have passed. Please, stay a while.
I think we've already overstayed our welcome, and I'm gonna try to get the door open immediately.
Let's see.
Oh,
We are going to drop to a moment of a spell starts to be cast, and we're going to jump to initiative to see your ability to open the door versus the spell going off.
So just roll initiative.
Yeah, there's no need for the actual initiative counter at present.
Noticing that they're starting a spell, can I gauge the type it is?
You can do an Arcana check on your turn here, but that'll essentially be like most of what you're doing on your turn, on like this initial like idea of what's going on. Flea, you have one level of exhaustion. I need you to roll another initiative check because that will be at disadvantage. So as she begins to, oh, let me see what Sophia's at. All right, word. As she begins to weave the spell, you see as a darkness seems to circle around in her hands, and she is going to, you start to see as there's like a sprinkle of like almost like dust kind of falling around you all with many different like fantastic colors, and it just seems to be kind of beautiful and entrancing as they just kind of start to rest down and your eyes get heavier and heavier. And what's everybody's hit points?
17.
12.
Alrighty. You're all going to be kind of standing there as your eyes start to get tired and you start to feel just the weight on your eyelids. Maybe touching the pastries was enough. And then you hear as Sophia collapses to the ground. And then it's going to go to Flea.
Did we manage to get the door open on the last turn?
You can try it now.
Yeah, let's go for it.
Make a strength check. You go to like push against the door and it just seems a little bit too stiff at present. You're not sure if you heard a lock go on it or if something else happened, but it doesn't seem to want to budge at present.
Does that action take my entire turn?
No, that can be an item interaction. You can effectively have other things if you would like to do anything else.
Yeah, I'd like to take a look at the handle and such and see if, in fact, it's locked or if we're talking about magic.
So you can do investigation or you can do arcana. Can't really tell. Doesn't look like it would be locked by anything.
Guess I'll try it again if I've got time. If not, I'm done.
Nope, that'll be it. That will go to Kavi.
So I was planning on doing an Arcana check on that spell they were casting, or she was casting.
You can do an arcana check. You can have it with advantage. Both of those were acrobatics. What's your arcana ability? Is it a +4?
No, it's a +2. Do you want me to just re-roll it?
Nope. Like, we'll always do the normal roll and we just switch out the plus. So that's a 7 and a 3. You cannot quite tell what she cast. You just know that Sophia hit the ground.
Uh, would I be able to take a reaction by chance?
Reactions generally outside of your turn. What are you thinking about?
I have the ability to do cutting word, which is a reaction.
I believe cutting word is in a reaction to you getting attacked.
It's a reaction to an attack roll, ability check, or damage roll.
Yep, none of those things happened before this.
Okay. Then I'm just going to use my movement to like move closer to Sophia, kind of like guard her.
And then that would jump to Sarkis.
Sarkis will yell out, "Wake her up and get the door open!" And then I'm gonna run over and try to grapple the witch, like restrain her hands.
Do you have stunning strike?
No, it's level 5.
I don't think that you like normally grappling just keeps them from being able to move. There's not an ability to like restrain hands.
Well, if I like grapple her, like can I like grab her by the wrist to stop her from like casting a spell? Is what I was kind of thinking.
I mean, you could like restrain her wrists, but it wouldn't be the type of thing that you're just going to be able to stop her from casting spells.
So what would be the point of restraining her wrist?
That's kind of what I'm getting at.
All right, I will then just I'm gonna wake up Sophia then. I'll run over to her and shake her up.
Yep, after a little bit of kind of coercing her, she comes back to consciousness and kind of like wakes up a little dreary, but seems otherwise kind of like as if she's waking from a nightmare.
And I guess I'll just yell out, "We have to go now. This is a hostile situation." I'm assuming that used up my turn.
What'd you do? You ran to Sophia and shook her, basically?
Yeah, but I mean, assuming that was like sleep spell, which obviously it seemed like it was, I'm pretty sure that uses my action. I mean, I don't know though. Sarkis probably wouldn't know. I'm just assuming that she cast a sleep spell and that's what made us fall asleep, or her fall asleep.
Okay, yeah. It is the action to shake her awake, so yeah. Yeah, so Sophia will run to the door and she gives it the boot and kicks it open. Now, I thought you all were coming for dinner. And now you have to leave so quickly. My sisters were just going to join us for dinner. No need to say thank you. Um, I think he's going to just kind of stand there, somewhat passively, like cackling at you all, as she looks down on you all with the door open. Does everybody intend to run out of the door?
He does.
Yeah.
Yeah, if everybody else runs out before me, I will take up the rear.
I'm going to scream, close the door.
So,
Is the wolf still at the edge of the clearing?
what was the question?
Is the wolf still at the edge of the clearing?
It is. Now. If you've already got the attention of his wolves, the Devil's Strahd will be along shortly to collect you all. Please, don't waste too much time with us. Have pleasant dreams. Don't forget to write. And then you're going to hear as she calls out, Rahadin, they're here. And within a few moments, you start to hear the clicker-clack of hooves and see a black wagon rolling up along the road up towards the windmill. You all turned down my master's invitation to have some pastries. He offered you a fine meal, and you would have snacks. It seems
We're
like
very popular. We can't please. We're very popular. We can't please everyone. We have to be on our way now. And Sarkis will start ushering everybody like, let's go.
seems like such a poor choice. And you could have a wonderful meal with my master. You're gonna have to run past Rahadin, and he just has a little piece of parchment in his hand held out to you.
I'm not going to touch it.
Neither am I.
Neither am I.
Sophia's gonna take it as she runs past.
When she goes to grab it, is there any way I can like stop her hand from touching it?
I'm gonna say your responses were essentially the order you ran past. You can do a dexterity check at disadvantage, and I'm gonna do a dexterity check for her at advantage to see if you can stop her. But I rolled a 4 that she's gonna give in and grab it. So we can see if the dice fight that. But I'm gonna put it out there that you guys are gonna start to gather that Rahadin is following you to hand you this invitation.
Right, I definitely got that. I'm just thinking Sarkis's like priority has always been making sure everybody else leaves first and is safe. So I don't think he would have just took off running by himself. So that's where I kind of get the idea I could like try to stop her. So disadvantage it is.
Roll the 2 and a 5. You are successful. You can stop her from taking it.
All right, so I will basically just like stop her hand and then usher her forward. No, dear. No. And keep her moving.
At some point, you all will have to join us for dinner. It is a wonderful time. Your safety is guaranteed. Please join us in Ravenloft. You will be safe. You can enjoy a wonderful evening. Meet the entire family.
Perhaps when we return to Barovia.
He just keeps pace with you all as you're going down the road, and you hear off in the distance the wolves still baying. What would you all like to do as you come back up to the crossroad? East is back towards the Gates of Barovia. Southwest is the windmill, and northwest is what you can gather is the city of Valakai.
Northwest.
Same.
Yep, still going to Valakai.
Your obstinate desires to leave us, to deny my master what he desires. It is very disappointing. Perhaps you would like the escort, and this is just your poor way of asking for me to follow you. Perhaps it is not. But I would guess those of Valakai would be very disappointed to find out the danger that you put them in, simply because you intend to deny the master what he wants. And he's just gonna follow you for the next hour or so. You don't get to know what happens if you took the note until you take the note, Al.
Okay.
So he just kind of keeps pace with you all for the next hour. You hear the wolves keeping pace with you, braying behind him. What are you all thinking?
I
Moving
think keep moving. I don't know enough about magic and what would happen if we took that note, if he could control us or teleport us, or it's better to just not interact with anything right now and keep moving.
I think you will find your safety is more at risk by denying my master than if you would just accept his invitation. It is my duty to deliver this to you, and it is my goal to deliver this note to you. Do not know why you try to fight it so thoroughly.
Can I do an insight on if he's actually trying to be genuine or if he's trying to just trick us?
Yeah, you can insight check him. And what do you think the trick is that you're trying to read out?
That more or less what he's just trying to woo us with a promise of safety, when it's in fact more than like they already know that like if they go, they're not coming back at all.
Doesn't seem to have any malice in his voice. Perhaps he's a really good liar, but he seems to be telling the truth that it's an invitation to dinner and Strahd would guarantee your safety.
Rahadi. If we accept your master's invitation to dinner, would you return us here after dinner?
I do not believe he would deny you the use of my services, the horses or the wagon. We would invite you for a wonderful evening. My master would like to get to know you. It is quite simple. Please, read the message that he has come, or read the message that he has asked me to deliver for you. If it does not seem pleasing, perhaps one day he will talk to you for himself. But I know that if he knew that I gave up before delivering it, he would be displeased with me. And I do not displease my master.
I'm gonna try to like whisper to the party as good as I can without Radine hearing us.
Do a performance and a stealth.
And I'm just gonna say, trust is to be earned, not so easily given. There's no reason we cannot take him up on this offer at a later time, if need be.
Oh, yeah. I assure you, you can trust my master. There is nothing to be earned or given here. He just wants to meet you all. He was intrigued by you then, and he would like to know more of you now. Castle Ravenloft is open to you. Our invite is there for you to take. And when you are finished, you can leave at your own will.
Kavi resists every single urge to eye roll as she just grumbles in Goblin that, like, trustworthy. He charmed me. Bullshit.
Roll a wisdom. Just a wisdom check. I understand what you are worried about, little one. He was most intrigued by you, for sure. Your kind is rare. You are most wonderful to be welcome into this land. Might be unsettling to be looked at as a prize, but you would certainly prize your company. And you can definitely pick up on that he recognized what was going on, even without you really showing off much sign of what was going on in your head. So, as you all continue on, you start to see the first signs of dusk, and off to the west, you start to round some of the last parts of the road. As the road kind of curves around north, it starts to curve back towards the west and start to head directly south before you see as it opens into a larger clearing, and about a half-mile away, you see a large stone-walled city, and you're still kind of coming down from above it a little bit, so you do have kind of a view into it, but it seems to be a city maybe twice the size of Barovia. The wall itself seems to be almost as high as any given house, so perhaps a story or two from this distance, and you can see the first signs that there are a few guards who are standing watch outside of the city's gate itself. And Rahadin is still traveling with you all, and somewhere in the woods to the east of you, you still hear the baying of the wolves.
You said you were ordered to just give us a letter.
I am indeed. He wrote this invitation for you and would like you to come to dinner.
Can I see it?
You are more than welcome to. And he holds the letter back out. It's just a little piece of folded parchment, and it has a small red seal of wax holding it shut.
Without even opening, she just pockets it. Says, "We decline." There you go. Mission done. Bye bye.
God will be most disappointed to hear this. But it's appreciated to know that you have received the letter. And my master will know that I have done my job for you. He travels with you all up to the gates of Barovia, or up to the gates of Valakai.
I will light a torch as it starts getting dark.
It's getting light.
As you all get a little bit closer to the city itself, you see as the guards are at the ready, in the time that it took you all to cover that last like half mile or so, there seems to be about 6 or 8 guards now at the actual wall, and they all kind of slow and stop in sight of you all. Well, perhaps you will not find yourselves as welcome as you had hoped in the city. I wonder what could have given them a poor image of you. It would be most unsettling to find out that you are stuck outside of the city for the long night.
Perhaps it is not us that they are worried about. Perhaps it is you.
Most astute of you, but I assure you, they would harm me not.
For fear.
For wisdom.
They would harm you not for fear of your master. You call it wisdom, but wisdom and intimidation are two different things.
You all have received my message from the Lord Strahd. You are his guests in this land, and you are welcome guests in the Castle Ravenloft. He's saying this, like, very much in front of the guards of Valakai. We would hope you come to visit sooner than later. But perhaps you will find your respite in this little city enjoyable, and then find cause to come visit us afterward.
While he's saying all this, what are the guards doing?
They all seem to be just kind of standing there. Weapons are still in hand, but they're not like standing at the ready so much as they're just there. Let's see.
Do I get the impression that they feel like they're in danger? Like, do they look like twitchy? Like there might be a confrontation? Or do they look like relaxed?
All of you all have a pretty solid passive insight where they are very clearly worried. These are not relaxed people. They're not going to deny anything to Rahadin, but neither are they happy to be dealing with him.
And can I do like an insight or something, perception maybe? Do they appear to be hostile towards us or afraid of us? Or can I tell?
It's the same answer as that other one.
Okay, I got you.
I'm going to call up and ask for entry to the city, that we mean no harm.
One of the guards is going to, with eyes like locked on Rahadin, we cannot welcome you into Valakai. You will have to wait here.
Do we need to wait for Rahadid to leave?
Still looking towards Rahadin. We cannot let you enter the city tonight.
Sarkis will look up at Rahadin and say, "Be gone, servant. You said you came to deliver a letter. Your job has been done. Now leave this place."
What if you were stuck out here with no place to go? Perhaps you would want a wagon ride back to your master's wonderful warm castle.
One, we don't have a master. You do.
In this land, Strahd is your master.
As you see a visible paint vein pop on her forehead.
Rahadin looks back towards the guards. You would do well to not disappoint the master of these lands and endanger yourselves for the sake of those who would deny his will. And he turns the wagon around and rides off. And that's where we're going to stop.
Can I just say real quick that I use a torch to burn the letter once he's gone?
You most certainly can.